Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting. We're going to take a roll call and everybody's here, but I don't see Lonnie. Tonight he said that he did not know if he would be able to make it, so I don't see him on here. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 10th?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Let me turn my, all in favor? 1, 2, 3. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, all right. Election of officers. Can I have a motion for chair, please?
Move Joe Bruno.
I'm going
I'll
to second
second
it.
that.
All right, got it. Sam, thanks. All right, all in favor? All right,
I'll even raise my hand.
can I get a motion for the vice chair, please?
I'll nominate Teresa Sadak.
Roll call.
I'll second that.
No, I'm gonna say no. I'm sorry.
All right, I will withdraw my motion and I'll
Thank you.
nominate Rolf Olson.
Thank you. I second that. All right, all in favor? Okay. All right, we need parliamentarian.
I'll nominate Rolf Olson.
Can he be both?
He can. There's no reason why he can't.
Then I second that.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Joe, I'm handing it over to you.
Well, thank you everyone for your vote, and I hope I do as well as Teresa did. She did a great job this year.
Thanks, Joe.
So, all right. So first order of new business, consideration of public property use request. Joe, you there?
I'm here.
All right. So what's going on?
Yeah, so this is strong machine adventure racing that's putting this on. They hold a I think it's about, depends on what leg this is, but I think it's roughly around 50 to 75 miles of racing. It can do biking, kayaking, and all sorts of different activities to get through. The course is not publicly known to any, even if you sign up, it's given the day of. So that's why a separate email has been sent to you by Sue Look, kind of mapping out the areas. So when we originally, he gave us the route, it was going through, I think Chief Tupper also saw that it was going through a lot more of the busy stretches of Raymond. So we kind of kept it not in the busy stretches of Raymond because of the time frame of this race, July. So it's kind of in the northern region, and if you can see there, it's really not hitting too many of the main drags. So that's pretty much the overall view of that. Any questions on that?
Is it going to be an inconvenience to Raymond citizens at all?
Doesn't seem like it. He said it's more of it's not like a triathlon where they're all together and busy. It's pretty staggered and go at your own pace. So it's not as concentrated as most races.
Okay. Any other questions? Don?
They were originally asking to use the Crescent Beach boat launch, which we were against and have been against that in prior requests. So that's not happening this time. And I think the course that they've selected will have a minimal impact on our town, but it certainly has some level of impact.
There's a lot of bicyclists in this, right? It's canoeing,
Yeah.
bicycling, hiking, if I remember correctly.
Correct. And I'm not sure if he laid out which part of this leg is, if it's running or biking or kayaking. Obviously not kayaking on the road. So it's either biking or running on this map.
Yeah. I just want people to be aware that it's going to happen so that they can be careful with people riding bicycles down the road. So,
Yeah, what can happen is I can send out an email blast maybe the day before, and just make aware that this race is going on.
It's
to
like when we
people.
have the Dempsey Challenge that comes through town. Yeah, you gotta be a little more careful when you're driving those days.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Sue, look.
Sue?
Joe, when do they publish the race course? Or is it that morning? Is it something we could put out the day before so citizens would know?
I believe it's the day,
day of?
yeah.
Okay.
So they give it to them. That's the copy. They gotta look at it and find their way.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not something we can kind of give out beforehand, just in case someone else catches it.
Good. Well, I hope they do a lot of shopping in our local facilities, stores, stay at local hotels. That'd be great. So
Perfect.
we need a motion to approve it, right?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Next is consideration of funding for Raymond Casco Historical Society. David Allen.
Thank you to the board for listening to us and our request. We realize it's very short notice and it's very unusual timing. Let me explain a little bit how we get here. We do have a project going on in South Casco. We believe it has broad historical significance, not only for Raymond and Casco, but for part of the state, this part of the state. And we do have a short film from Dr. Robert Schmick of the 19th century Curran homestead in Orrington, speaking to that effect. If you'd like to see it, it's just a short statement. What happened, we found out about this project last fall, but the property didn't get turned over to us to go out for grants and funding until mid-March. As soon as it did, we approached both Casco and Raymond, who have been historical supporters of the society. For funding, we were told it was too late in Raymond's funding year. Had already made decisions about which articles would be funded. Casco, however, did allow it to get onto their town meeting agenda, and we received a welcome to make the proposal before their selectmen. They did recommend approval. Last week at the Casco town meeting, the citizens voted to approve a $25,000 appropriation with the stipulation that they would only approve as much as Raymond does. So hence, this is why we're back to you. We had really thought that we would come at a later date or at a special town meeting or even next year to discuss it. But this is now a point where not just the town of Raymond appropriation is running, being weighed here, but also whether or not we have any appropriation from Casco, and hence the request for consideration. If you'd like to see the video, I think Sue has it. She can play that.
I do. Do you have a preference of which one goes first?
I believe a lot of people have already seen the one that was done by Saco River TV. So could you play the one of Dr. Schmick talking about it?
And what I see are, the first thing is looks like the Blacksmith shop. The other one is called Casco Historic Blacksmith.
Yeah, I believe that's the one.
The second one, okay. Whoops. Get that. And stop, sit, stay.
I believe this is the first one. It doesn't, video is not coming through.
The video isn't coming through.
I mean, the audio, I'm not hearing any audio.
Okay. Oh, I think I know why.
Again, I'm not hearing audio. I'm not sure if anybody else is, but what we're looking at is a picture of the shop being used in Kate Douglas Wiggins' silent movie Timothy's Quest in 1922. There's a picture of the shop as it stands. I wouldn't say today, we've already started working on it, but this is actually William Watkins working at the shop, and a picture of what it looked like when we started cleaning it out to renovate it. This was a film that was made for us by Saco River TV. This project is important to them because of their connections to Kate Douglas Wiggin. And as I say, it has broad appeal regionally. We know that the shop was in use in the probably the mid 1850s by William Watkins, the apprentice there. And there's reason to believe from deeds that this shop or another shop, we never know exactly the form it's taken, but there has been a shop operating here, we believe, since 1824, making it roughly contemporary with the time Nathaniel Hawthorne was in the area. It was a major shop to the commerce of Raymond. This is now a generation before Casco split off. So it's as much a Raymond town project as anything. It's at the intersection of two major ways between the Bridgeton Road between South Wyndham and Bridgeton, and the Otisfield Road between Raymond Cape moving into Otisfield. I'm not sure there's a lot else to see here if we don't have the audio. I'm not. This is an ox lift. It stands in the shop today. It's pretty much in the same condition. We're going to move it intact. Pictures of Quaker Ridge where the shop exists. Again, these are films of it from 1922. This is William Watkins, who owned the shop at the end of the Civil War, and his son Albert. And you can see the condition of the ox lift today, but it's amazingly intact. Just has to be put back together.
Sue is consulting with Kevin about the audio issue.
All right. right, while that's going on, are there other members from the Raymond Casco Historical Society that want to speak?
Well, my name is Ingo Hartig. I'm with the Raymond Casco Historical Society, and I'm involved, and I'm totally impressed about this and very enthusiastic about it, since it is reaching back for so many years. And we are planning to make it a teaching shop later on, a live blacksmith shop, in order to show the young people, the new generations, how it was done 150 years ago.
Am I heard now by anyone?
Yes.
Yay. I'll try it again.
Should we
Kevin
just
and I
move to the other?
tested it this afternoon and it worked much better when we had no one here. You may hear some other background noise because I had the headset on because we're still open and I'm sitting here in the middle of the front office. So I will start that again. Screen share.
David, why don't you play the second one?
And was that the right one, Mr. Allen?
No, I think we should move to the other
I'm
one.
sorry, I can't hear you.
Can we move to the other one? I think
Oh.
that would be more beneficial at this point.
I'm sorry.
Can we move to the second one?
Yes, we
and-
can. I am very sorry. Whoops, oh, stop.
Well, let's not hold the meeting up any farther. Let's move on. What we were going to play for you is a short discussion by Dr. Robert Schmick of the 19th century Current Homestead, who was the museum curator there. He has also been the managing director of Willowbrook. Many of you may know of. He's an expert in blacksmith shops, and he attests to the importance of preserving this as a unique site. He attests to the importance of using a shop like this for experiential learning, bringing classrooms into the shop to learn to do, as opposed to just the more historic model that we've used of having set pieces where it's more of a show and tell. So it will be a working blacksmith shop. The intention is to actually have the forge running again and having local blacksmiths use it to practice their own craft. To start that in August, we'll be running, Bob is going to bring down portable forges to give lessons and demonstrations, teach classes here in August for a period of time to get the interest going. And it's the model that we have to move to in the future in order to make the shop self-sustaining and germane. It says something that, groups like Saco River TV and Hollis, Current Homestead, which has offered us Dr. Schmick's services. Today we had a group from Current Homestead down here helping us get the shop ready to move. They're investing in this project because they see it as important, and we hope Raymond will as well.
Can I ask you, what is the money going to be used for?
The shop, again, is very decayed. It's in advanced stages of needing a lot of repair, and we're going to actually have to take it apart to move it. So there'll be, we have a gentleman from Bridgeton who is a timber joiner who specializes in this kind of renovation work. We have a rigging company to actually move it. We're going to have to bring in boomed vehicles to pick the shop up. We're going to cut it in 3 pieces, pick it up, lift it over an existing building, put it on a a flatbed and move it up to the site. And then to stabilize it, we're going to put it on a full foundation so that we don't have problems in the future. And so that we can start the renovation work in the interior. Then we'll have to reclad the entire outside. At this point, it's not weather tight. The roof isn't weather tight. The walls aren't weather tight. We'll get that back to where, in order to have it as a classroom, we're going to have to do that and get the forge reestablished. There's a lot of, our budget is approximately $65,000, which we think is realistic to do this. But, you know, all it takes is one beam that's in need to be replaced, and prices will go up considerably.
Have you done a fundraising campaign for this?
We are running a fundraising. We've had some very generous support on the fundraising. And, but because of the late nature of getting it started, we're just now getting into the main thrust of the fundraising. And we are looking for grant writing. We are looking for grants, although a lot of those are more towards the equipment and materials and some upgrades to the shop that we'll need to turn it into a classroom as opposed to just a static exhibit. We've had some deferred maintenance at the museum, and some of that will have to be taken care of. That's not part of what this money will go for, but that's actually what has happened is the money that's been set aside to do that is what we're using to move forward until we can secure more funding or fundraising. And that will have to be paid back in order to do the deferred maintenance.
Any selectmen have any questions for Mr. Allen?
I know Lonnie sent me a message earlier saying he would not be here tonight. Lonnie did say he was in full support of it, in full support of supporting it. So I wanted to make sure I put in his 2 cents. It's my understanding that you guys are looking for about 23,000. Am I right?
That number comes because the 25,000, but I believe you appropriated 1,800 for at the town meeting, which is a traditional appropriation you've given us in the past. Is that correct?
Yeah,
that's correct.
So that's where I think that's where the 23,000 number comes from.
So you're looking for 23,200.
Okay, so
yes.
My 2 cents on this is I think it's a good project. I agree with trying to restore it. What I'm not comfortable with is just a couple of us saying yes to $23,000. That's my worry, because it is a taxpayer's money. It is a lot of money, because as we break down a lot of people to different people. So to say yes to 23,000 to me is kind of hard to do, but I do know you guys need it. And I'm also frustrated at the fact that it's contingent on Casco too. So, I don't know. What do you other ones think?
I guess the question, what's the timeline on this? I mean, what's the full project timeline? I mean,
Project timeline. I mean, we've started, they put the footings in for the foundation today. As I said, we're moving ahead with some donations that we've received and borrowing from some funding that we had set aside to do deferred maintenance. So we're going to be moving out over the next month to get this thing physically put back together on a new foundation. We think we have probably another month's work getting the outside secured. We've got to get a chimney rebuilt. It's a special side draft chimney. There aren't many masons around available right now that have that kind of experience. But we hope to have it up in actual working condition by Thanksgiving time.
I guess the question becomes how soon do you need the money? Because we're at the end of our fiscal year in 10 days. And I kind of agree with Teresa. It's a lot of money just for the selectmen to say, here you go. My suggestion is that we have a special town meeting.
I think, as I say, I think we have money that we're borrowing from our own, from deferred maintenance that we have to do later this fall. I don't see that as the timeline to have a special town meeting to appropriate this, I don't think is going to hold us up. We're just going to have to, somewhere we've got to raise funds to replace that money, but that's not, it's not a showstopper as far as this is concerned. This building has to be off-site by August 1st by contract. And that appears like it will happen, but it's going to be getting it back up and running. That's going to take a little bit of time, but I don't think, if we have to go to a special town meeting, I don't think that would be a problem from timing.
If we go to a special town meeting, will the delay lose your possibility from Casco?
No, that's been asked and answered. I believe we can check with the town manager there, but I believe it. Frank, do you remember? I believe it was answered no. That wouldn't be a problem.
If they appropriated it for their next fiscal year, it should be there for a year before it gets done.
Okay.
So you have a
All
whole
right.
year.
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, if there's two ways you could look at funding things. One would be if we had surplus left from this current fiscal year. However, we've already, with the motors that we, the replacement motors we did in the heat pumps and whatnot that we had to do at the fire station, we essentially used our contingency funds anyway. So we really don't have funds available in the 21-22 budget. So we're looking at 22-23 budget. And when we look at the increase we just got from the school, we're already looking at having problems without, rates and things are going to go for this year. So I wouldn't feel comfortable without having some more of a public hearing on that and getting input on people, because that's going to have an impact on where we end up having to go mill rate wise.
Yep, I agree with that, and I think we need to know where the funding source is going to come from, and is the Selectmen Contingency Fund the only source? And Sharice, I guess I'll ask you, how much do we have in that contingency fund right now for this fiscal year?
Well, Rolf brought to light, I wasn't aware that we had already expended some funds out of the Selectmen's contingency for fire department pump replacement or repairs. So I guess I'd have to research that. That must have happened before I came in September.
It was
No,
when
that's
we ended up having to replace the heating unit on the roof at the, rather than taking that out of, we did some out of contingency, some out of the fire department funds, but then we also spent money out of the contingency when we repowered the marine, the boat. So, I don't think we have that much that's left in the overall contingency fund anyway. All, essentially what you'd have would be if we had any surplus, but that affects then what we're going to do as far as how much of that surplus we use to offset the mill rate, taking into account the increase that we got on the school budget, which we did not have. We anticipated it, but it was a hefty increase on there. So I mean, we've got to factor that in as well.
So what I'm thinking is that the July meeting becomes a special town meeting.
I like that idea.
What are Teresa, Rolf?
I'm just wondering if July, I mean, from a timing standpoint, either July or August. I'm just thinking, as far as what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a good feel from the populace, and does July give you enough time to to build up to get information out to people so they can come in and have a reasonable shot at that, or are we better off to do that, look at it in August instead, in order to try and get some, give David and the the group there some chance to try and get some some more information out. I know they were at the election and they gave some information out there, but if, you know, you're trying to build up some underlying support with people, you know, if we go July, we're really pushing the timeline there. If we go to August, it gives them a little bit more time to build some underlying support there too.
Well, I just heard an August 1st deadline, you know.
No, excuse me. We have an August 1st deadline to move the building off the site, and we will be doing that probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks and getting it reassembled. We've borrowed the funding from we've reallocated some funding internally to be able to do that. So that deadline is not going to be hampered by the funding. It's really, we're taking it out of funds that we need to do some furnace work and things like that this fall. That we have more time on, a little more time on getting the shop running. I mean, we have to get it moved. We'll get it moved, but that's when it starts to become a problem. It's later on, early in the fall.
Sharice, what do you have for us now from last year's?
But as far as your undesignated fund balance?
No, contingency.
Yeah, Selectman contingency.
Well, as I had mentioned before, I wasn't aware of those, those expenditures that Rolf is speaking to. So I guess I need time to research that. You're talking about, I see Bruce may or may not be on the line. If he has an estimate on, the cost of the heat pump replacement repairs, and then the marine boat repairs as well. And I'm just not prepared to give you that number this evening.
Okay.
I would prefer.
Hopped on. Don, do you have any numbers that you know of?
I had asked Sharice this question, and so, the question becomes, and I'm going to defer to Rolf on this, but whether, and maybe Bruce can jump in, whether both those expenditures happened in the current fiscal year.
My knowledge, the heating air conditioning units were the year before. I remember Alex was the one who handled that, Alex Ponte, and then the motors were this year. And my God, I want to say 68 was the cost, or 65.
65's popping in my head.
Somewhere right in that area, yeah.
Well, that's the ball game. That's the ball game for the contingency then.
Right.
Because we only had 75 in the contingency, so I mean, it doesn't.
The current year contingency, yeah.
I mean, I would prefer to, let's get a public hearing, a public special town meeting or whatever scheduled for August. Get some time to look at that, but it also gives us a chance then in July to have some, look at some numbers on where, if we do this, where would we, where would the money come from? Because you'll have, at that point also, Teresa will have had a chance to close the books for, it depends on when that meeting is, but, you'll have your end of the year, most of your end of the year stuff done by the time we have the select board meeting in July. So we'll have a little bit better idea of where we are as far as surplus and things like that.
So the August meeting would be the 16th, if I'm correct. Is that right?
I think so. Isn't that the second? Yeah.
It's the third Tuesday. Don, do you have it? You have that right off?
Sue's not working.
No, I'm sorry, the 9th.
It'll be the 9th?
It's the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
August 9th.
Normally. It can be
Alright.
the 16th, but it's
No,
normally
the
the
9th
9th.
works. Okay. All right.
So you're right. We do have to figure out where it's going to come from if that's what the town chooses to do, because I would hate to break into our selectmen contingency when we only have 75,000. I mean, we used that up on one thing, on the motors, last time. So, but gives us some ideas where to find it.
Yeah. So Sharice, I guess we're going to be looking at you to see where we could fund this from. If it's undesignated fund balance, which it may be, or a combination of contingency and undesignated fund balance.
Okay, I'll try to get some information for you for the next meeting. Unless you want me to email you
August,
the
the
group
August meeting.
or the August
Well,
meeting.
for the July meeting, we will discuss the options of where to find the funding.
Right.
Okay.
And
And we'll have a special
another
town
thing.
meeting in August.
Right, another thing you could look at is what's allowable under TIF, because we may be able to do
Right.
some things under TIF, even if we if we delayed something else in order
Yeah.
to use that in this year's. So I mean, because that's that's where some of the historical society money is coming from anyway. So
Right.
it would be expansion on that, but I mean that's another logical area, but it just may require some shifting to some other things.
Right. All right. Anyone else from the Historical Society want to say anything? So our current plan right now is to discuss it at our July meeting of where the funding may come from. And then we will, on the August meeting, have a special town meeting. And I'm sure you can round up all your folks to make sure you have enough votes to get the, appropriate the money at the special town meeting. All right.
Yeah, I have no problem if the town comes all out for it, because that way where there's more people speaking up for it. Yeah.
Look, I think all the select board is supportive. I think it becomes where are we going to get the money from? So, all right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Frank, you
that.
want to say something?
I was just
Frank?
gonna say, thank you very much for considering this. As someone mentioned, David and I worked the polls, and we talked to probably 350 people that day, and there was a lot of support there. People really felt it was a good project. So I think with some work on our part, we can turn out a number of people to support it in August.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for this.
I think you continue with a fundraising campaign and see what you can come up with that way too.
We plan to. We just picked up another 1,000 of our newsletters today, and we'll be hitting the road with them again.
Good. Good. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So look, consideration of planning board appointment.
I believe Mike Richmond is here, and he is. The planning board has approved his appointment, and they're awaiting their thumbs up for that if you so choose.
The only thing I notice is he spells his name Richman, not like the town of Richmond.
Oh, it's not a good day for me, evidently.
We're just making sure you're watching how to spell your own name. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Michael, would you like to say anything?
Just appreciate the consideration. In my day job, I sort of am on different sides of planning boards, and love Raymond and would love to help here. So any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, you have an impressive resume, and we're happy to have someone like you on the planning board. But that might be a little early because we got to have a motion and a vote. So
I would move to appoint Mike Richmond to the planning board.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor? Mike, you're on the planning board.
Thank you.
Does he have to get sworn in or anything, Sue?
I'll need to swear at him, yes.
She swears at you really bad.
I'm not sure that's the right preposition.
Sue, and you'll have to get sworn in, okay?
Will do.
Thank you, Mike, for your service.
Thank you all.
All right. Consideration of zoning board of appeals resignation.
And in your packets, you saw Patricia Beaton's resignation. So
Can I have a motion to accept the resignation?
Move to accept the resignation.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
No, she was good. It's too bad.
Well, it's,
Thank you for her service, really.
yes, thank you so much
Put a
for
lot
your
of time in.
service. It is hard to get people to volunteer.
Oh, but wait, look at the next one. We have someone volunteering, Pete.
Hey, look at that. What do you know?
Yeah, see?
All right, consideration of zoning board of appeals appointment, Pete Lockwood.
And he is here as
I-
well.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Pete, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Want to
Thank-
say
thank-
anything?
Sure. Just like to say thank you for considering my application. Can you hear me? All right?
Yes, just fine.
Great. I've lived in Raymond for 35 years and 2 of our 4 children were raised and went through the Raymond schools. And I was just looking for an opportunity to be able to give back.
Well, we appreciate that, Pete. Can I have a motion?
Move to
Motion
appoint
to
Pete Lockwood.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Welcome aboard, Pete.
Thank you
It's
very much.
unanimous, Sue. Thanks for helping us out, Pete.
My pleasure.
All right, recycling committee update. Grace Levitt, are you here?
I am. Thank you.
All right, floor is
Okay.
yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for putting this on the agenda this evening. A few of our committee members are here as well. Sue Cardy, Karen Lockwood, also obviously Town Manager Don Willard, Select Board Rolf Olson. So if I've missed something, hopefully they will chime in at the end. But I really did want to give you a bit of an update that certainly that the committee has done, I think, quite a bit of work in just a few meetings, although it feels like it's gone on for quite a while. So also on the committee is Kathy Goslin, the Deputy Fire Chief, as well as Representative Jessica Fay, and Bob Jones has joined the last few meetings as well. So my understanding of why this all sort of got reestablished was that there was discussion at the Select Board and the Budget Committee about the costs with trash pickup and recycling. And there was a misperception, I'll say, that if something was contaminated, that we were getting a lot of contaminated recyclables. And so it was being burned anyway. So why are we recycling? And also there was a misconception about there not being a market for recyclables. And again, that's something that has changed from past years. And also there was definitely a need for a clear policy, and that was Nathan White was looking for some recommendations from the group on a new policy for trash pickup and recycling. So we met several times, about 7 meetings. First meetings were spent gathering a lot of information, presentations. They're all archived on the website. If people wanted to watch those, there was a lot of information from the Natural Resources Council in Maine, Maine Department of Environmental Protection, from Casella. And that's where we were told that really there's very little contamination of our recyclables. And so we're doing well with that. Didn't really get hard number in terms of the number of households that are participating in recycling. So we seem to be doing okay, but could be doing better. Did learn that really the heaviest part of our trash is wet trash, food scraps and such. And that increases the cost of the trash pickup. So we could encourage a lot more composting of the appropriate food waste and educating the public about that. And most importantly, we did learn, as I said already, that there is indeed a market for recyclables. It says it right on the Casella website, that as long as they've listed it as an accepted item, that they do recycle it, they do not burn it. We also heard about a program, Garbage to Garden, about composting, and information that some of the members of the committee attended some webinars from the Wyndham Raymond Adult Ed program on composting and recycling. And also somebody attended the annual Maine Recycling Solid Waste Conference, and we gathered information from the surrounding towns about what they do with recycling. It was interesting to note it says it's mandatory in some of those towns. So a flyer was developed with some of the information that we had gathered. And I want to thank Kathy Goslin and some of the town staff for their work on that with the flyer and the logo and getting some copies made that were available on election day. And we hope to get some more made and distributed at Town Hall, at the library, any realtors to do summer rentals, campgrounds perhaps, and certainly have it on the website. I don't think it was quite there yet, but I know we're updating things on the website. Along with if and when you adopt the policy that you have in your e-packet, have that also up on the website so people are aware of it. And there is a link up on the website to sign up if people are interested in a new recycling bin, a different type of bin. It's a larger one, it's on wheels, and it's covered. And so that is important. And there was one on display again on election day, and Sue McCarty and Bob Jones were there to kind of answer questions about it and also have folks sign up there as well. Sue's got some more information on that in just a minute. And also composters. So I know the town had made those available to people before at cost, and so also getting interest for folks to be getting those. So we want to certainly have some commitment from people that are interested in getting these bins, and rather than just the town purchasing them and hoping people will get them. So that's why we're asking them to sign up beforehand. And also there's a concern with where to store all of these. So we want to be sure that once we do get them, for the people that are interested, that they then come and pick them up. And but the town can provide those then at cost to folks that are interested. Really, the biggest thing that we have a lot more to do is educate the community, again, about composting, which this household has started to do with all that I've learned about how much more we can save on the weight of our trash and the tipping fees, and also more about proper recycling and just in general addressing this whole issue. So Sue McCarty had reached out to the schools as well, and it just was too close to the end of the year to get something going there, but we're looking hopefully at the fall of having Casella do a presentation in Raymond Elementary School and helping to educate the public through that means as well. As far as helping to educate the residents, there was the thought that perhaps the policy, if and when adopted, could be sent to households with their tax bill, and that would be helpful in making everyone aware. Having it on the website's one thing, but having it handed to you is something that might be worth doing. And let's see, we also have gotten a few things updated on the town website, still some more to do, some videos that can be up there to help educate people. We still have some concerns to address, still some concerns about private roads and how to be sure that they are complying with the policy, again, if when adopted, being sure that summer rentals are doing some recycling and following trash policy, summer residents in general, weekend residents. Really, that's an issue to continue with. So when we did give some feedback on the policy that was proposed, the thought was, should there be some sort of a penalty for someone not following the policy? But I will say that it seemed pretty clear that Nathan was more of a mind that if someone's not following it, that sharing that document with them and pointing out to them would hopefully address most of the issues, if not perhaps all. So, but any type of a penalty that you might consider for someone who's consistently not following the policy, of course, would be up to you all to decide what to do in that case. And next steps, we had mentioned at one point surveying the community to try to build up some more interest in recycling. We haven't done anything like that yet, but we have another meeting scheduled in August. Once we start getting some of these new recycling bins out there and they would be visible on the roads, there might be some more interest in some more people. So ordering these, and so we do another round of that. As I already mentioned, presentation hopefully at Raymond Elementary School in the fall, and also connecting with the school garden and composting there. There is a Maine Recycles Week that started up again this past year, and the dates for 2022 are November 14th to 18th. So that's another opportunity to keep educating the public about it. And also we need to keep monitoring. There's a new law, I imagine you're aware of, the Extended Producer Responsibility Program for packaging. and that was passed that will help towns with the cost of recycling. And so it does look like it's going to take a while for that law to be fully operational, but basically manufacturers have to either make more of their packaging recyclable or pay a cost that is then sent to the municipalities to help provide for recycling costs. Again, priority is to educate folks about the do's and don'ts of recycling and really about the importance of composting. So if any of you aren't composting yet, I would encourage you to do that. It's really pretty easy. Also just it's really the 7 R's. Refuse, reduce, reuse, repair, repurpose, rot, that's compost, and recycle. And so those are all things that we can be doing to improve the environment and our community. And we'll also be providing some updates on via the Roadrunner. There have already been some things in there, and keep trying to provide information about other ways to recycle items that Casella does not take, such as that soft plastic bags and such. There is a place at supermarkets, Shaw's has one right by the exit where they can take those things, donating items to Goodwill or Salvation Army. Just ways to heighten awareness about thinking twice before just tossing something in the trash. Also, perhaps down the road, having a site for a community garbage to garden program for those that don't have a way to compost on their own sites, and wondering if some sort of incentive might help. Again, we're open to ideas about this, but basically, we do need to, of course, watch the cost, but the more that we compost and the better that we recycle, it is certainly better for the environment, for our town, this beautiful place that we all enjoy living in. But it could also then reduce the cost of tipping fees for trash and help to offset the cost of the recycling. And so, Sue, you had some specific numbers on the folks that had signed up on Election Day and via the website. You want to weigh in, and Karen as well, and anything else?
There was a lot of interest, and I was happy. You know, it was good to know that a lot of people were recycling, and there were a fair amount of people that are already composting. We had about 56 people sign up, and about 27 of them also wanted composters, which I thought was which was great. I think the biggest challenge is when people looked at the recycling bin. Some of the older people felt it was too heavy to lug back and forth on their driveway if their house was a little far enough away from. So that was an issue. But the other thing is people just don't believe that these new bins that Nate got through Casella are heavy duty, and they just think that they're going to get knocked over just like the current ones are. That they just believe that the people that are picking up the trash are just, throwing the containers into the street and whatnot, and they break up. But these, and I've talked to Nate about it, and he says he knows what people feel, but it's really not accurate to a certain degree. It happens, but these new ones from Casella are really tough. They're really heavy duty, and I've seen the ones from Lowe's, and they're better than the ones from Lowe's that people are buying. So I think it's just kind of convincing people that if you spend, and I think about $60 is really a deal, because the ones from Lowe's are not as good as this, and they're more. So I'm hoping that people can continue to check them out at Town Hall and increase their, get more orders. But so far we have about 56, which I thought was pretty good. And I want to thank Bob Jones for spending all morning there and helping out. It was very helpful.
Okay. Anyone else? So I'm looking at the new trash recycling policy. What is the difference on the policy as opposed to the old one? I don't see any like red lines on what it's replacing or.
Well, okay, let me just answer that a little bit this way. The charge deck committee, what they did was on the recycle side. That recycle section of that really didn't change much, but it was more to look at. Is recycling still valid? Is recycling, something that we should be doing and whatnot? So there was a lot of work that, the trash recycling and collection policy is really from the standpoint of the select board, and Nate's side is doing that. I will say that, give my thanks to the committee, because they did an awful lot of work in a short amount of time in regards to, some, a lot of brochures and things like that too, and information going into the Roadrunner. So, the thing to do is keep that energized and keep the the biggest thing coming out of there is that education component, because really it's educating the people on what they need to do, how they need to do it, and know that they've got some resources to go and look at. And from that standpoint, there's a lot of things that committee put together that are going to help people along that way. So they did a good job there, did a great job there. But that the trash and recycling collection policy really was not under their purview. They looked at it just to see if there was anything that they would suggest to add in there under the recycling bucket of there. But the trash collection and whatnot was more to look at it from what's in the contract that we have with Casella, what are we supposed to be doing, and making sure that people are doing that. So it's really almost two separate things there.
But they did make some suggestions that made me look at the format of it and reorganize it a bit better, so that you could see for pickup, here are the pieces, for trash, here are the pieces for recycling. It was organized differently, and that was a suggestion that the committee had, and I think it made it much more clear. It was a really good suggestion.
But if we also look back at one other item, when we came to look at, one of the things that started this down some of it down the road was when we looked at that trash and recycling collection policy. It was discovered that we actually never did ratify it back when it was originally done. So we said, let's hold off ratifying that until the committee has a chance to look at, recycling element and whatnot. Because if it wasn't going to be in there, then, it didn't make sense to ratify something that was going to have an element that didn't exist. So, in their work, it's come to the conclusion that the recycling still is a beneficial item in there. And it's not one that was going to end up costing us more to have it in there than not have it in there. And there's intrinsic benefits to having it there. So, but I mean, the only heartburn item I have in that policy is under section 2D. I think that becomes somewhat of a limiting item. If you drive down the road on any given trash day, you'll find that probably 80% of them do not have lids.
Or they're in trash bags.
Yeah. So, the trash bag, but they're in, most of them do have the trash bags in there, and, I question if we're going to put that out and we're going to want something that Nate's going to have a chance at enforcing. If we've got something in there that's kind of a no starter, are we better off to take 2D out of there and concentrate more on making sure people are putting them in the trash cans and things like that, not just leaving them on the side of the road? Because my biggest concern is always if we make it too encumbering, and it was my issue also on penalties, is all of a sudden you've created the situation where now we're creating extra work for Nate, because it's going to be people are going to find someplace else to throw it instead of out on, putting it out on the road where it's supposed to be picked up. And, our end game is to try and make it easier for Casella to get things picked up. So.
Well, the issue we have is like the summer folk who come up here for the weekend will put out a trash bag because they don't want to leave a trash container on the side of the road when they're not home to bring it back into the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they just leave trash bags out. So the fact that we say they must be inside the container, how are we going to enforce that? We don't have a police department. We don't want to get into a fight with people about putting their trash out. So you know, maybe the word it's recommended to be in the trash can. But I don't want Nathan going around having to tell people, hey, we're not going to pick up your trash because it's not in a container.
I don't think that's his job. Yeah. But then you have the people that come and stay, like the Airbnb. Do you know what I mean? Then you have people that are just going to put the garbage there and not care because they're leaving. So then
Right.
that becomes in the issue there. God, it's
I was just, I know that one of the things that prompted Nate to want a policy is that he has gotten in the past a lot of grief from people complaining to him that the so-and-so is putting their trash out in bags and not in there. And when he looked at the policy, there was really nothing that he could use to say, no, they have to put it in the trash. And that was one of the things that was giving him heartburn. So that was one of the things that why he wanted a policy.
But that was already in the policy, I believe, because I kind of remember when we did this policy that we said you have to put your trash in a container. And so I think that was already in the policy. It's just hard to enforce it.
Yeah, right. The teeth wasn't there. So
right.
I agree with you though about the summer folks. I hear you about that, and that is a problem. At least they put their trash out. So.
Well, if I may, I believe that what Nathan was also saying, though, as Rolf said a few minutes ago, it was never really acted on. The policy was not acted on. I know it was on the website, but he was looking for something that the select board would actually officially adopt, I guess is the way to put it, so that he could then hand this to someone who's not following it. He was hopeful that that would at least reduce the problems. Again, I'm just trying to kind of relate what Nathan had expressed to the folks when we looked at this. And so, yeah, I do understand there's still issues going forward, but hopefully some people would choose to do the right thing and follow the policy, even with the concerns that you've just raised. And that, if you want to say recommended, obviously that's entirely up to you versus it must be, but for there not to be problems with animals getting into a bag of trash that's left for maybe several days.
Every trash day, you see it all over the road.
Yeah, and so that really does need to be in some sort of a container, even if it means you're leaving it there for the week until you're back the next weekend, or you ask a neighbor to bring it in.
I have to admit it, I put mine out there in bags sometimes right at the end of my driveway up on the rocks because parents back over my containers or knock them down. And I've even done that. So yeah. So, but they take it. And I do watch them pick up the garbage cans. They do put them down, setting up on the side of the road. It's just that big truck that goes by after, the dump truck, that with a great big breeze afterwards, it just throws them all down the road.
85 is a rough road to have trash out. It really is.
It is.
So it's rough.
So Don, thinking back on this policy, we never adopted it.
It was adopted, but it was amended in 18 and the amendment wasn't done. I'm sorry, I'm not Dawn, but.
Okay.
Keep on going.
So it was adopted in 2010. It was just,
yes,
there was an amendment to it that was never adopted.
In 2018, that was never adopted.
And
I couldn't find any. It was similar to this.
Okay.
And I was looking to see if I could find the current waste contract, but I don't have a copy of it. I know a lot of the verbiage was taken from the contract.
Okay.
But we certainly could have recommend instead of must have.
I just, it's the whole enforcement thing,
Yeah, and I know Nathan's game.
It shouldn't be up to Nathan to go enforce this policy.
Right.
But he's the one that's stuck talking to the people whose trash is all over the place.
Right.
And he'd like to have something to give them. And his thought is that and he asked me to stand in his stead, so I'm Nathan tonight. But
you look a lot like Nathan.
Yeah, I do. It's the white hair. Yeah. And my voice sounds a lot like him, but he needs something to be able to hand to people, and he wants the backing of the select board on it, quite literally, as Grace said earlier, Sue, or both, that to be able to say, you know, it's not just me, the select board says this is what you need to do, and these are the rules. So it can be, like I said,
Yeah.
he would prefer to have recommends instead of must, for sure.
I think it's a good idea. I think something else too is we can put it in the Eagle, you know, the Wyndham Eagle in our newspaper section. So where whoever gets that can either leave it in their house for the Airbnbs or whatever. But I know that I've talked to some angry people that have not felt like a mess at the end of their driveways when it was their own mess. You know what I mean? And it's not Nate. I still go back to it's not Nathan's job, but if this puts teeth into it to help Nathan when he does have to hand it, I'm all for it.
So there's two ways you can go at this. Put in the word recommended, or leave it the way it is. And, you know, don't go crazy enforcing it, but when there's a pile at the end of the road from bags being ripped, you hand them the policy.
But okay, here's also the common sense factor, people. There's animals out at night when you stick your garbage out at night. It's going to get ripped open. And then for people to gripe about it, come on. You know, that's your own stupidity there. It really is. But I leave it as this. And if Casella or whoever doesn't want to pick it up because it's not what our policy says, then they don't pick it up. And then they can call and ask why. And they say, well, because our policy is this.
Right. Right. So,
and part of it too with let's see, which one is it? C. Oh, and I can see again, Teresa. The trash must be in bags inside the containers. The point of that was people were putting trash loose in containers and not in bags.
Yes. Yeah. I got
so maybe maybe I can mess with the wording a little bit, but that was the point of that one, I think.
No,
okay.
Yeah. I feel bad for these guys picking this stuff up.
All right.
Well, it makes it a lot easier for them unloading those,
right,
if they're in bags, because you know, if it's loose, then they definitely have to pick it up and dump it in. If not, a lot of times they can just grab those and toss them in there. So it makes it, you know, there's a lot of stops that they've got along the way, and whatever we can do to make it easier for them to get the routes completed is a bonus for us.
Don, is there any consideration from Casella on the automated trash?
Well,
there is, but it's probably 4 or 5 years down the road at best, because the first trial is going to be Wyndham anyway, because it's new equipment they've got to get and things like that.
I was hopeful we were going to see it by now, because the previous general manager, Stu Axelrod, was pushing very hard for that. I don't know what's changed, but something has changed. And so, as Ralph points out, it's not on the horizon immediately, but I mean, it's going to arrive with all deliberate municipal speed, I guess, someday. We may live to see it.
And then everybody will have to have a trash container.
Right. And I was also going to say, the more specific you can be to have something to point to better, as Sue has said. I often get pulled into these things, and, you know, you would think common sense would dictate behavior, but it doesn't. And, you know, I tell people there are 2 rules if you want trash joy. Put your stuff out the night before in a, you know, container, as in bags in a container. And you know, that's the key, is just putting it out the night before. People put it out, try to time the truck, you know, and sometimes it doesn't work the same way. Different drivers, you know, they may do the route in a different order. So put it out the night before in a container. You'll never fail. You'll always be happy.
I think we should leave it as is, because I also know if you don't have a lid on your container, have you guys ever driven down the street and seen like 15 bags piled on top of each other? Hey, it's in my trash can, you know? So I say we leave it as is. All
right. So we're going to actually adopt this policy now. So I need a motion to adopt it.
I'm going to make a motion to adopt the Town of Raymond trash recycling collection policy.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you to the Recycling Committee for all
Thank
your hard
you.
work. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
I do like the idea of you guys possibly putting it in the bill, the envelope, so people can see that. It's something that they can pull out and use it as a reference for whatever you guys are gonna do for like the recycling thing. You know, it's kind of like one of those things, somebody could stick it on your refrigerator, you know? So
Yeah.
thank you.
So is that possible? Putting the pamphlet into the tax bill?
Since we prepare our own mailing, yes, it just adds one more thing we stuff in. Or if it's a pamphlet and it's two-sided, it could go in separate. If it was a one-page kind of thing, we might be able to print it on the back of the tax bill. But then, no, they'd be cutting that open. I shouldn't think out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just, if I may, before you move on, so the pamphlet, if you haven't seen it, it is
two-sided.
two-sided. And actually the suggestion was to put the policy for trash and recycling pickup in with the tax bill, so people all had that, but it's an even better idea to include the pamphlet. That can be included too. That way
Yes.
we know has it.
I think we should, the policy
And-
and the pamphlet.
And we give out a flyer here in the town office for all the various options people have for waste, especially bulky waste. And we're going to put the policy on the back of that as well, because a lot of summer folks pick that up.
Good.
Don?
The only concern I have about that is that we have people who tell us they don't receive their tax bills, and we hear that pretty frequently. And when we've mailed it to the correct address, and I'm not saying don't do it, but it does kind of dilute the tax bills somewhat. If someone sees the flyer first, they may think junk mail, off it goes. Probably that's not going to be a huge problem, but that is one level of concern. I like running it in the Roadrunner over and over again and publicizing it on the web and so forth. But towns do put flyers in with tax bills, so it's fine to do it if you want to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So, all right. Private road standards for recycling and waste service. Is this Nathan?
And this is Nathan again.
All
Hi,
right,
Nathan.
And the only real change to this is Raymond's MSW vendor in section 1. But this is just one more piece. It kind of goes part and parcel with the recycling and waste policy that you just adopted. And since Nathan looked at this, he wanted to be able to give road associations this document to be able to say, you know, you're not up to scratch, and here's how you get up to scratch to be able to have your recycling or your waste picked up. And that's for the ones that already have it. It doesn't necessarily, none of this means that any new roads would necessarily be added to the waste pickup.
So it has to be the combination of Nathan and Casella at this
Yes.
point.
Mhm.
It's
And that's
not
what the
just
that's what the-
Casella saying we're not going down that road.
Right, nor is it just Nathan, and that was changed in the contract.
Okay.
I think this one's important because it's often a safety issue. You know, we have people who don't maintain their roads in the wintertime, road associations that, you know, really we shouldn't be going down.
Very familiar. Living on a dirt road myself, we had 2 weeks where the trucks did not come down because it was mud season. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right, so do we need a motion on this one?
we do.
Yes, please.
Motion to accept the private road standards for recycling and waste service for the town of Raymond.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous? All right. Next, we move to the Comprehensive Plan Commission. Got a lot of good people who put their names in for this. That's wonderful. That's really good.
It is.
All right. So, do we really need to go down one by one, or can we just take them in a block? One by one?
A block would be fine for the motion.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna make, oh, go ahead.
No, Move to accept Bradley McCurtain, Frank McDermott, Craig Foster, Peter Levitt, John Clark, Kayla Gonzalez, John Rand, Danielle Malone, Jacqueline Sawyer, William Frazier, and Sean Milkoff to be on the Comprehensive Plan Committee.
Do I have a second?
Sam second it.
Oh, you did? Okay. So any discussion?
Yes. This, if anybody else would like to join, I think it'd be good to have more people. Do you guys have any problems with that?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
I think it's a great group of people. A lot of
I do
different
too.
perspectives there.
Terrific.
Yeah. So, all right. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, everyone who put your name
Thank you.
in. We look forward to your work. Thanks, Brad. All right, we have a quick claim deed.
Here. This is one that was discharged without a quick claim, and Sue realized she needed to do a quick claim. So it's kind of catching up.
Okay.
So I make a motion to accept the quitclaim deed for Robert Myers and Mary M. Knight Myers, map 012, lot 20, book 30940, page 78.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous.
Okay.
All right.
I was gonna start talking, but that's Joe's job.
That's right. Keep your mouth shut. All right. Consideration of annual payroll warrant.
You just love working with me, don't you, Joe?
You betcha. Charisse, all yours. Charisse,
She's on mute.
you're on mute. There you go.
Okay. This is something that, as I understand it, the town does annually, and it just requires or allows the town to release payment of wages with just one selectman's signature is primarily it, and it follows the state statute.
Rolf has a question for you, Charisse.
Sure.
Huh?
Go ahead, Rolf.
I didn't have
Ask
the
the question that you want to ask. Why can we not get?
That question.
Yes, that question.
Yeah, the question I have is in regards to signatures. We have requested and never gotten a good definitive answer as to why we cannot use DocuSign as a legal means for a signature from selectmen on warrant, on the town warrant and things like that.
Payroll,
And
whatever.
And if it is not allowable for some reason, what needs to change to make it allowable? Because we have representatives that said they're willing to introduce things if it needs to be introduced. But I mean, you can go out and buy a $10 million house and never see the other person, and it's all done by DocuSign. Why can't we sign?
I did that.
Why can't we sign the town warrant DocuSign? It's a secure signature method. So I would like that thoroughly researched and a definitive answer as to if it can't be done, why can't it, and what needs to be changed to be able to have it done.
We've had situations recently where poor Sue had to wait for a signature hours where, you know, with two people were out of town, and you know, sometimes it can get tough. You know, there's been a couple of us with COVID that we can't get up there, and thank God other people's have come in. But yeah, I mean, if I can buy a house without even seeing the person that's doing my mortgage, why can't we do it through the town documents? So no, don't give me no answer.
I have asked those questions, and the answer is that the AG's office and others have deemed that the language in the main statute that says signature means a real original signature. So the statute hasn't been updated to allow for electronic means of signing.
What has not been answered and what we asked to have answered was what specific wording needs to be changed so we can have the delegation promulgate those changes. They will do it, but they need to know what has to be said. And, you know, you know, we're no longer on stone tablets. We're in the electronic age, and everything else is done the world operates electronically. And if the state can't do it, then the state should shut down and start over again.
How long ago was that question asked for the AG?
See, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
When I asked, I talked to Jessica Fay, and she looked into it, and that was the answer she came back to for me, that they haven't looked at it beyond that.
So what we
So
need to probably address Jessica to
try
say
and
what can
research
she
it.
do?
I can try and talk to our attorneys and see if
The
there's-
answer would be to ask them to look into it, to ask our state
Yeah.
representatives to look into it, and Joe could speak better to this, but I mean, I do understand, you know, the notion of the slowness of change in government, but I would guess that it needs to be introduced by somebody and discussed at some level, and that's how you start, right?
If government allows electronic signatures on real estate purchases or any other document, why would they say it's not allowed on this one?
That's why I'm saying we have to ask that question.
She's just repeating what she was told, yes, but we do, yeah.
I know, I'm not blaming Sue. I mean, I'm not surprised that someone in state government just said, oh, this. Did you get any proof? What's the wording? You know?
I think the wording is just
the statute.
I think the wording is just the word signature.
Yeah.
And they've taken that to mean a real honest to goodness pen in hand, or maybe quill in hand signature.
Yeah, well, they used to say that about prescriptions, and now they allow electronic signatures. So, and that's the federal government. So I think somebody ought to get the statute and take a look at it, and maybe have our attorneys interpret it, and we do it until we're told not to.
So Dawn, maybe we can talk to the attorneys tomorrow.
This is the reason why I passed the
If you
chair
want
over to
to,
Joe.
another way to go, of course, is always home rule, as Joe just outlined, you know, your interpretation, do it.
Right.
Then if somebody objects, then go from there.
Exactly. Exactly. We make our interpretation of a signature can be electronic or original. And then you just move forward with it.
I would establish a policy probably, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, so what are we going to do with this annual payroll warrant policy? We adopted that, right?
Yeah, it's just.
Saying it only needs one
it's an
signature.
annual
We
adopt-
do not say that it can be electronic.
I usually run up and sign it, or Sam if he's in, or if I can't do it, I'll text one of you guys and say, can you guys go up and do this? But if we can do it electronic, because usually sometimes I'll get a phone call that says, can you run up real quick?
Maybe just
If we're adopting this policy now, why don't we just say it can be electronic?
Exactly.
Oh, look at Rolf. Rolf is hopeful in this one. Look at him. Yep. Yeah.
So let's change the policy right now.
Yep. But when we say it's signed, wait a minute.
So if I could speak to this just for a moment, because I'm not real technologically inclined, that particular document is prepared by Bangor Payroll. So that would mean to upload that or convert it into some type of electronic document with the Dropbox for an electronic signature. Would that be right, Sue?
I've never made one, so I have no idea. I
PDF.
would guess.
You have to have DocuSign software, which is encrypted software on your computer, and you sign up, and then you could sign everything electronically after that.
Can we get
So is
that?
that, so is
You have
that
to have-
something that I would do or Bangor Payroll would do?
You can ask Bangor Payroll if they, have the ability to use DocuSign, and I
Okay.
assume they do,
Okay,
because they've sent me documents and I've signed them electronically.
all right.
Yeah, but
Kevin,
there's other things.
Kevin can look into that easy enough to see what we need to do to get that set up on there.
So where do we have to change this document? Under delegation of authority?
Disperse money.
Or maybe under the purpose where it says, allow a majority of the municipal officers to review, approve, and sign electronically the treasurer's accounts payable warrant.
I would say either original or
Or
electronic.
electronic. I would put either or in there.
Yeah.
When a disbursement warrant has been signed by one. It's not saying there electronically or not.
Under delegation, it says the policy allows.
Looking under
review,
duties,
approve,
sorry.
and sign. So you have to have it in a couple of places in there where it
Okay.
says, okay.
Well,
Wherever it
I'm
says
back on the
sign.
other ones, the powers and the duties too.
Mhm.
Powers and the duties. What are you looking at?
On a payroll warrant
No,
policy.
that's state law. Are you looking
No,
at the
it's
state
under-
law
it
where
would
it
be
says
under-
duties, the
it would be under
treasurer shall?
delegation, yeah.
That's state law. You
Delegation of
can't
authority.
change that one.
Okay.
But you could change our policy.
Yeah.
Where the town of Raymond won.
Where, under delegation of authority, where it says, that
Right.
it says, sign municipal treasurer's disbursement warrant for employee wages and
Right,
benefits.
wherever it says
Either-
sign,
Uh-huh.
it has to say either original or electronic.
Yeah, but even if you're doing electronic, you're signing it. So I don't know why we have to specify it.
Because you have to specify whether it's an original signature and an electronic signature, that both are acceptable. All right,
Yeah, I think being that specific, since you're going a little bit outside the track, would be a good idea.
yep. So. All right, so you'll be able to change the wording on this?
I made it, so yes.
Okay.
So we can,
now-
we can move that as currently
As
amended.
amended.
I'll
Okay,
make that motion.
okay. Do I have a
Approve
second?
that as amended.
Second.
All right, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right, thank you. So you guys will check with Kevin and Bangor Payroll on DocuSign. Okay, great. Next,
So consideration of staff annual
staff
appointments.
appointments. Yeah,
Well, it's the normal cast of characters, I believe.
Cast of characters.
Move the appointment of municipal officers as listed on the document.
I have a second.
I don't know. Some of these characters are pretty shady.
I don't know.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Committee appointments.
Why, as far as the board, like the Board of Assessment Review, why don't we have the other two people on there too?
Because these are
It's
only
a
the
term.
people that need to be reappointed. And there are 3 members on the board right now, and they have staggered terms. So when they were put on, Mike's term ended this year with
They
this June.
haven't done anything for years.
But they just did. They just had the poverty abatement
Right.
appeal.
Yeah.
And but he was appointed a year ago, or maybe
Oh.
even 3 years ago. We've had a board.
Yeah, they just haven't had to meet.
Well, exactly. But so we did the other two on the other, like maybe last
They
year or
have
whatever.
Staggered
You-
terms.
Yeah, you would have done one of them last year, one the year before.
Okay. I just
And
don't
the
remember
same with
seeing it.
Same with the planning board. You only see 3 members, but it's a 7-member board, I believe.
Okay.
Can I have a motion?
Move to appoint municipal officers as listed.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous? All right. Annual fee schedule?
The select board representation on boards
Oh.
and committees, sir, I believe.
Oh, yep, you're right.
So one is not on there because it's a very good thing because the library is now going to be a town department. So we don't need a representative, an ad hoc, whatever, representative, liaison
Yep.
on it.
I agree.
Question, Don, is Mark Gendron still desiring to be on the MWAC board?
I do not believe so, and it's not MWAC anymore. I think she has it correctly in the other spot. But yeah, he's done. So I guess right now I'm the representative, and I did cajole Nathan to attend one meeting for me. So I don't know if he wants to be the alternate though, but so I'll be attending.
All right.
What is it called, Don, instead of MWAC?
Main waste to energy.
That's right.
And as far back to the library thing, they're still going to have those trustees, and so I mean
We're going to be friends of the library is what it's going to be.
Right.
Well, it's the same effect though. The same idea.
Well, they're not really trustees at that point.
Well, but what I'm saying is that I was unaware of that change, but what I'm saying is there's still going to be a board that will provide input to the library. So the question would be whether you wanted to have a selectman representative on that, advisory board.
That board is not.
I thought it was more
dealing
fundraising.
It's a fundraiser board. It's not an advisory board.
With fundraising, which is similar to the one that the whatever the name is that the
Fire department.
public safety has that raises money. There's no we don't have a person on there, nor really should be, because the new library board is going to be doing is only on the 501c3 side.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't, it's not the appropriate place for us to have someone because it's dealing in a different area. The running of the library is now a municipal office.
So that would be like if I stayed on that board, Dawn, I'm going in there and telling Allison technically what to do.
No, I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way, and I was unaware that decision had been made. That's if it's structured that way, then I completely agree. What I've seen before in other, amalgamated systems, if you will, where they kept the former trustees or advisory committee, whatever you want to call it, is that they would be a support net for the library director, someone who there are things that in small libraries that are, volunteer driven. So it'd be sort of a group of super volunteers who get together and they discuss, things like acquisitions of books and things along that line and makes various suggestions and help the library director in that way. They wouldn't have any real power or any authority, but it keeps the volunteer ethic and spirit alive in the library as it became a town department. But if they've decided they want to be just fundraising, that's okay too. And
they didn't do that before. They didn't do that before. Allison made all those decisions. Do you know what I mean? But what they do is they do fundraising, and they are going to fundraise, but they're going to fundraise on that 501(c).
If they're structured like the Fire Rescue Association, then I would agree 100%. Absolutely.
That's what the MOU called for. So
yeah.
If the genesis of the MOU, it started off, they were more an advisory board. Then that's not where we ended up. Where we ended up is they're a fundraising organization. You have a department head that's reporting to you, and that's where the
I understand that. I get it. I'm with you.
I'm planning on staying on that board as far as helping and volunteering, but I don't think I can't do it as a select board member though, because I think they are
going to have to exist a little while as we make the transition.
Oh, they are going to, yes, until everything is done and stuff like that.
And I just got a text from Nathan. He says he is willing to be the main waste to energy alternate if you want to do that.
Great.
Sue, stop impersonating Nathan. He's watching you.
So.
That, and I don't want to be the alternate.
So yeah, and until everything is completely switched over, I'll still be doing that. But Allison and that crew down there are really good. They are really good. And you're going to be great working with them.
All right. So let's have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the select board representation on the boards and committees as written.
Well, Mr. Chair,
No,
do we have-
as amended, because.
yeah, do we have, are the ones for the
amended because we
beautification and the
removed Mark and
recycling
we
staying the
added-
same?
Those are done already.
But they're not changing. No one's,
No,
Okay.
no one's changing.
okay.
But the motion that Teresa made is as amended, because we amended,
Right, we put Nathan on there for M,
we made-
well, that
Nate,
Nate, energy.
Nate is the alternate. and
But we're all
Dawn is
set.
Yeah.
We're all set.
Okay. Everybody
Ginger-
okay
Ginger
now?
out.
All in favor?
Yes.
Unanimous? All right, fee schedule.
So I sent out the fee schedule to all the department heads, and Alex Soroy's had some changes. No one else really got back to me, so I'm assuming they don't need changes.
All right. Alex, I just want to make sure that where it says new construction, it's 40 cents per square foot and not $40 per square foot.
Ooh. Yeah. No, there's a little dot right there.
There's a little dot, but it's crossed out. And there's not a new dot in front of the amendment. Is that right, Alex?
You are correct, yes. It's
All right.
40 cents.
Okay.
A minimum permit fee is now $50 instead of 25. Ow.
That's what we're proposing. And that is, essentially the goal would be to have it so that we're not losing money for each permit we issue, because that's the current situation that we're in.
Why are we losing permit money? I mean, why are we losing money on permits?
Well, for example, a minimum permit fee typically only applies to like a shoreline permit, which is like a tree removal. So for a tree removal permit, for example, you have processing time to take the permit in and get it into the system. And then there's typically an inspection. So if, for tree removal on the Cape, it's a 20-minute drive down to the end of the Cape for Chris. And then he's got to go do the inspection, which is another 20 minutes, and then another 20-minute drive back. You factor in, fuel for the vehicle, an hour of his time there, plus another 15 minutes to process the permit and issue it when he gets back. We've got total about an hour and a half of time into each one of these tree removal permits. It's costing the town about $50 approximately to issue one of these. So right now, for every tree removal tree removal permit we issue, it's probably costing the town $25 for each one. So what we would like to do is increase that to 50 and have that cost be paid for by the applicant. Typically these trees, it can cost $1,000, $2,000 sometimes for these tree removal permit for the actual work that's done. So if you look at it that way, $50 is a very small percentage, from what they're paying total for the tree removal.
So if I want another new little shed, which I'm going to do in my play yard, I have to pay $50 now?
Yes, yeah, it would be across the board. Yeah.
I say no.
Unless you do it before the end of the month.
Oh, yeah, I'll do it before the end of the month. That's true.
I think it's important to note that these changes that are in this fee schedule were based upon a survey of the same communities that KMA uses as our labor market comparables.
Not when I have to pay that.
And it's also important probably to note that we haven't made changes, substantive changes, I'm told, for a long period of time, maybe even when Jack Cooper was still here. So
these don't go into effect right away. They go into effect.
Some of these haven't changed. Some have, some haven't.
So wait a minute. So when do these go into effect?
July 1st.
Alex, I'll be up there to file a permit tomorrow morning for a new little playhouse, play yard.
I think the question has been answered, but I mean, it's important that, it's consistent with what the other, the towns in the general area are charging for the same things. So, it's not that we're out there trying to do, we're just trying to be consistent with what other people are doing as well.
Nope. All right, I make a motion to accept the updated amounts on the fee schedule and the whole fee schedule.
Alex, did you want to refer to the late fee that we're looking to impose as well?
Yeah, one of the other changes on there is to be able to charge a finance charge, I think is what we're calling it.
Right.
When people don't pay their back due balances for like planning board escrows, zoning board of appeals escrows, oftentimes, you know, they submit their application fee, and they establish their escrow account. But for some of these projects, you know, subdivisions, large site plans, they can go on for a year, and what will often happen is we'll get into the red, which means we've paid Sebago Technics or, you know, another a bill, maybe it's the noticing requirements. We've paid these bills, and the applicants are not paying us back, basically. So we have a number of them. I don't know, Sharice, if you can give an approximate number of what we have outstanding for total dollar amount, but it's quite a bit of money, I think, out there that kind of hangs out.
Yeah,
So,
probably the last month or two, Sandy Fredericks and myself have been working pretty aggressively to, you know, invoice these planning board project applicants to get money in. A lot of it's reminders. I'm glad we're increasing the advertising costs because they, you know, right now the fee schedule allows for $150. Well, the ads themselves are, you know, I've seen the bills from the Wyndham Eagle, they're $192 a piece. So we're already in the deficit there. So increasing them to $200 per ad will certainly be, you know, better in line. And Sue, just for point of reference, you got ad ADD instead of AD. I noticed in the description for
that may have been my error and not
Yeah.
not hers.
I'll
us.
check it for spelling as I update it with the dollar amounts.
So no, I think we've been pretty successful in collecting a lot of those and refunding and closing out some of the really old ones. Trying to locate some of these prior planning board projects. You know, you've had some turnover in the code enforcement office. Some of them go back to Scott. I don't remember his last name, Doversack or something like that. And but they're in pretty good shape now. I want to say maybe $2,000 in the red.
Well, that's good.
Total.
Okay,
That's
so
good.
question then. So, because I'm not real familiar with this. So you guys get the bills. I don't understand. So does everything do you halt everything until they pay the stuff back? Because I know things are on a timeline. So in other words, if you don't have that money in their accounts, why are we running an ad on their behalf?
So we have to run the ad as part of the application process. If it's planning board or ZBA, that's up front.
That's right.
So typically that gets paid for on the front end, but that might eat up their whole escrow. And then we have to send something off to Sebago Technics as they're doing the planning review, and then they bill us a month later, and then all of a sudden it's 1,000 over. So then we're in the red on that particular account.
But I guess I don't understand. So we're paying ahead for these people is what we're doing instead of, ouch.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to fix here.
Okay.
By adjusting some of those. And, you know, the other thing, I think a lot of these changes, or pretty much all of these changes are, you know, we're not going to be making money off of permits. It's really just to reduce the cost to taxpayers who aren't actually building, you know, extravagant houses or maybe even a little house. That would put more of the burden on the actual applicant for the permit. So it would be set up so that if someone's doing a $100,000 renovation, and the approximate permit fee would be about 1% of the total cost of work. So it's pretty small if you start looking at the percentages, but I just think that the way we've been looking at it, we're just trying to increase the fee for the person who's actually utilizing the services. instead of having it be more funded by, taxes.
Okay, I had already made a motion to accept this. Just need a second.
Second.
All right.
Other questions? All those in favor? Unanimous? All right. Do we have anything else on the agenda?
Yeah, you do. You've got section P, which is consideration of select board meeting format.
Oh, okay. Yep. See it. All right. Here's my 2 cents. I like to change to a hybrid Zoom and in person. If you're not comfortable coming in person, which I would prefer in person, have the ability to call in on Zoom.
I'm fine with it, to be honest. And any of us that do get COVID again can do it from the chair.
Yep.
Who just pointed at you, Alex?
Rolf,
My
any input?
Cheeto eating 3-year-old.
I don't have, I don't have a problem with that. It's, I think you get a better feel, and you stand a better chance of getting people come to give some real, more inputs if we have the in-person. So, I mean, we went this route because of where things were, and it's changing. So I think we should change with the changes, and the hybrid approach gives a little bit of both sides there. But and from if we look at it from a kind of a dollars and cents standpoint, if we have legal counsel has to come in, it actually costs us a little bit less. If they don't have to come to the meeting, they can come in that way. So yeah. There's some logic behind that side too.
Sue, how difficult do you think it will be to set up a hybrid?
We're already doing hybrid and we've done it multiple times. So it's a matter of me sitting at the computer and turning it on.
Okay. So.
And the guys at the broadcast studio do it all the time. That's what the planning board does.
So the hybrid would be on the big screen in the broadcast studio, I assume?
Some people will be there. Whoever comes in via Zoom will be on the screens, and everyone else will be in the studio.
All right. So that's what we will do starting with our next meeting.
Okay. That works.
All right. Select public comment. Anyone out there want to comment? Anyone raising their hand?
Nope.
Thank you, folks. Nice progress tonight. Good to see everybody, and we'll look forward to helping out on the comprehensive plan committee.
Well, thanks for volunteering. Any other public comment? Okay, selectman comment. Teresa?
I want to thank everybody for getting out and vote for the library and making it a town department. I'm really excited for what the library is going to be able to do now that it's under there. And yes, very excited.
Rolf, Sam, any comment?
No.
I just want to thank Teresa again for a fine year as chairperson. You did a good job. You infuriate the hell out of me, and you'll continue to do that. But you did a good job. All right. Confirm town manager, Don. You're muted. Don, you're muted.
Yeah.
There you go.
My first item was to tell you how excited I was about the library vote on June 14th. So Teresa's stolen some of my thunder there. But, with the advent of the recreation department, I saw all the, I think, significant changes that have been made for the better in community life. And of course, the library has always been there, but I'm just really looking forward to working with Alice and her staff. The current board of trustees during the transition, I'm now learning the friends moving forward. I just think we'll be able to make the library stronger and even better than ever. And so it's it's something I'm really looking forward to. And I also want to call out Teresa for her leadership, you know, over this past year in particular, but in general, over the past couple of years. I think the town's moved forward in, you know, monumental steps. And I think a lot of that is due to her leadership and her vision and drive to get it done. And I make no comment about infuriation or anything like that, but she and I think we worked well together, and she worked well with the staff. And so thank you for that.
Thanks.
The Main Street Sidewalk project, the project that, you know, may be old enough to vote pretty soon, is finally going to kick off on June 27th. It's going to be a 6 to 8 week construction timeline. There will be some delays that will occur on account of traffic management or traffic control issues, but we're going to have a traffic management plan to mitigate that to the degree possible. So that's another project that, you know, is something that I think is going to be a major improvement to the community, connecting our Route 302 sidewalk network to Main Street down to the library area. And so really anxious to see that one get going, and we'll do everything we can to minimize the inconvenience to travelers. But I suppose if you have a way to avoid that, then during the construction time, it would be probably a good idea. The another thing I want to bring you up to date on is our municipal audit. You know, we normally would have it, you know, long before now, but on account of the, I guess, the workload that our now single auditor has and staffing issues and so forth, we don't have it. And we have been assured that we're going to receive it by the end of the month. And I know that's a concern to Sue, and we're trying to make some provisions to get that as it should be to meet legal requirements and so forth. So anyway, so that's a little update there. And then the final thing I have is school choice reimbursement. We received $29,212 from the school. So back to the town.
Well,
and,
you heard about the new Supreme Court ruling today, so
oh yeah,
that may have an impact on the town of Raymond.
What was it?
That you cannot exclude religious schools from school choice.
In regards to that, I think we need, you know, we kind of fell through the cracks a number of years ago, and we need to relook at and find out what we have to do, because the original intent when we went to the choice was we have a contract with a contracted rate with the school. The intent was that people could make the choice, go to another school, but we would pay no more than that tuition.
Than what we pay in Wyndham. That's right.
And that's not what's happening in practice.
I agree.
So we need
They really got lost.
You know,
the
so we
school
need to
committee
look
made
at
that
see-
decision. That was not made by the town of Raymond.
But I think if the town of Raymond makes that, you know, reinforces that decision, and we make that, you know, we put that back out, it gets voted on and says that, yes, this is the policy on tuition reimbursement. It is no more than that, then we have something to stand on in the school that says, no, we're not going to do that. You know, and when someone contracts with another school or goes to another school, then they know that's what the rules are. And the school, then the receiving school either says, yeah, we'll take that rate, or they're going to bill the parents the difference.
Yep.
Yeah, but we had whoever the attorney was for the school, we had them come in and they said we can't do that. So I don't know.
It is our choice to allow choice. Therefore, we should be able to drop.
The town should set the guidelines, not the RSU.
Right.
But if it's challenged, will we lose it?
Don't know. Worth the challenge. But I do think you're going to need another referendum, or you need to go back and look at that referendum and see what the wording was.
Mm-hmm. So we need to take that on, and I'm not sure how we research that, but we need to do that. And if there's an action we need to do, then we need to do that.
Well, that referendum was what, 2006, 7?
Was it a
Somewhere.
referendum vote at a town
Yeah.
meeting?
It was
Okay,
a referendum vote, yeah.
That I can find.
Yeah, it's just, you know, especially with the Supreme Court ruling, you know, all of a sudden now you open up, you know, now you've got the Chevresses and Collies and
Late Dominics.
Yep. You know, you've got a bigger differential there than if someone decided to go to NYA or whatever.
Right.
Right, but when we voted to keep choice, it was to keep it the same, and at that time was, any school would have to pay what the Wyndham rate was.
Right.
Is what it was. And that's when Westbrook and Gray and the rest of them all dropped their tuition rates to
Right.
take students.
Yeah, so if you can look up that referendum and the wording on it, it goes back quite a ways. All right.
I might have it right here.
So we have to establish our dates for the upcoming regular meetings. So we have July 12th and August 9th. Although, did we mess with that tonight? I've lost track.
No,
August
August
9th is going to also be a public hearing.
Yeah, okay.
Or a special town meeting.
Special town meeting, that's what I meant. July 12th, let's list that as tentative.
Okay.
All right, and if there's not a full agenda, we may just hold off until August.
Well, the only thing is, part of what the discussion was going to be in that July meeting.
Oh, that's
how we
correct.
go from-
Yeah, no, never mind. I guess we're meeting on July 12th.
I found the wording for that referendum if you want to hear it at some juncture.
Sure, go ahead.
Are you in favor of retaining Raymond's current secondary school policy of allowing school choice? And it had with it an explanation. Yes, a yes vote preserves the current secondary school attendance policy, which provides choice for all Raymond students educated at public expense to attend another public or private secondary school. A no vote approves a secondary school. A no vote approves a secondary school attendance policy, which provides that all Raymond students educated at public expense after July 1st, 2009 shall attend Wyndham High School, eliminating choice. And that was voted in 2008. It was voted yes, 1,800, no, 900, roughly.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
I think the question has to be, do the selectmen have the power to set a limit on what they are willing to pay for reimbursement?
And I probably should see if I can find a copy of that secondary school attendance policy.
Yeah, okay. So we are meeting July 12th and August 9th. And Sharice will get us all the numbers we need on July 12th.
So are we set on that?
Yep.
So now we have the reminder of upcoming holiday schedule, Monday, July 4th, Independence Day. And then I would have a suggestion on the executive session. You may want to reverse them with Phil Saucier here.
Yep. We can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, move to go into executive session, code enforcement violation update pursuant to 1 MRSA 405-6H.
Second.
And I'm just going to
I'm
interject
sorry.
for 1 second. There's an amendment there. It's actually under 6E, consultation with legal. Legal. The H was an incorrect when it was code officer. So it should be 6E.
Amend that to 405-6E.
Second.
All in favor? All right.
And who should be in attendance with this? The select board, Phil,
Yeah.
Alex, obviously Dawn.
Yep.
And Alex.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Move to come out of executive session.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Can I have a motion?
Move to proceed with enforcement as discussed in the executive session.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to go into
All right,
executive
I need
session.
another motion to go into executive
Just
session.
did. Sorry.
Moved.
Okay. All those
Second.
in favor?
You're like
Unanimous?
delayed.
Executive session.
All in favor? Unanimous. Can I have a motion?
Move to proceed as discussed in executive session on the labor contract.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous? Can I have a
Move to
motion
adjourn.
Second. Joe, your meetings are long. Just saying.
I hold the record. Don't you forget that.
No, Joe, you don't hold the record. I hold the record.
What?
You got beat. You got beat.
Ah,
Yeah.
all right. We'll do better.
I did find a little more about school choice and I emailed it all to you.
Oh, good. Thank you. So,
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks.
Kevin
All right,
made a
good night,
suggestion.
everyone.
Can you hold a second?
hey, what?
Kevin made a suggestion, which I'm sure that is not something that at this hour that people are wanting to do, but we will send you, instead of, he suggested that we could play those videos from earlier. But I think the thing to do might be to send them to you if you're interested in taking a look at those.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can we do that?
Yep.
absolutely.
I think they will be informative. I've seen the first one. I have not seen the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.